Welcome to Pario magazine, where I chat with individuals who have a desire to create. Today I am joined by the director of the upcoming Stranger Sings, the Parody Musical theatre show. Welcome to Pario magazine, Ashley Taylor Tickell.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here.
Wonderful. So we're here today to chat about your journey bringing Stranger Sings, the parody musical, to life at Melbourne's Salty Theatre. Before we dive into that, though, do you want to give our audience a brief little introduction as to who Ashley is away from the theatre?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, and moved here about just over 5 years ago with my husband and our son. It's been, I guess, quite a journey for me in terms of falling into theater just as a person. I started very young in the industry. And when we moved here, I fell in love with Melbourne, but knew I still had more theater in my blood to dive into. But outside of that, I feel like I'm not super exciting. Lots of time outside, diving into books, scrolling away, looking up new shows, and just time with the boys and the family. I'm pretty low key. All the crazy comes out when I'm in theater mode, I think.
Oh, well, at least you have that
Yeah,
outlet to express
exactly.
that side of yourself.
That's it.
So on a personal level, how did you discover this passion for theatre and then obviously directing?
Yeah. So when I was 9 years old, my parents took my brothers and I to see The Phantom of the Opera. And I remember we were very fortunate. We were in I think it was like the fourth row. And there's this moment in the show. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, when there's like flames, like fire up on the stage, and we could feel the heat of the flames. And I just remember thinking, this is the coolest thing ever. One day I want to be on stage like those people. And a year later, I was cast in a production of Annie, playing Annie, and I just got the bug so hard and so quickly. And I've been doing it for over 2 decades now. It's been a long time. Yeah, and that's what got me into acting. And I think the directing side of things, um, the shift kind of came for me with directing and producing when I started a family. I knew that I still wanted to be a part of theater, but I didn't want to have a life where I was touring or working at night all the time, because I wanted to be there with my family, with our son, for bedtimes and reading stories. So I started the shift at that stage, and I've really fallen in love with being able to create kind of from the ground up and put all of the pieces of the puzzle together to kind of create the grander vision and see artists connect and build these really awesome relationships. It's been a great period of growth and transition for me.
Okay. And as a theatre director, do you sit and watch every show, or once it sort of gets to a point you can leave the cast and crew to just let it run smoothly?
Yeah. So not there for every show. I mean, for this particular show, I will be, because I'll also be bartending. Welcome to the world of like independent moving towards commercial theater. You kind of wear all the hats. But for the majority of shows, you are with them until opening night. You have a big splashy celebration, and then you kind of go away for a period of time. And usually it's the stage manager who takes over for you and keeps everything pumping along and keeps the vision alive. And then I'll do a little dip in every once in a while, like every few shows. I'll stop back in just to make sure everything's still on track and firing, and also because it's just fun.
Okay. And then, like you mentioned, your career has been quite extensive. What would you say have been your
Yeah.
biggest or favorite directorial experiences?
Oh goodness. Um, that's a tough one. There have been so many um, kind of different styles of show. I think one thing I really enjoyed doing was jumping into actually a cabaret that a dear friend of mine, who was the maid of honor at our wedding, did, because we had written it, we produced it, we did everything together, and I also performed in that show. So it was very much a kind of telling of our story, and being able to kind of take that vulnerability and that humor and that kind of chaos of a young person in their 20s in New York. That one was pretty special. Yeah, and I must admit, I'm really excited to dive into this show. I'm a huge Stranger Things fan, so not just from a directorial and creative standpoint am I excited for this one, but just the content itself I get to really kind of nerd out on, which I'm excited about.
Okay, so yeah, as we shift over to Stranger Things,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned being a fan of the Netflix series. What made you then want to go and make this theatre show?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been following the series, the Netflix series, from the beginning, and as a producer at Salty Theatre, part of my job is programming, so looking for the next show to produce. And as a company, part of our mission is to, I guess, really reach out to audiences beyond those who already are familiar with music theater, who are very theater oriented, and kind of introduce new people to the magic of musicals and theater, and kind of the excitement of what that can be. So when I came across in my journey online of what show to do next, I came across Stranger Things, and obviously the fan in me went, "Oh, this could be great." But I also recognized it as an opportunity to really reach out to audiences far beyond those who love theater, reaching out to big fans of the franchise, as a way to kind of fill the void between seasons 4 and 5, but also kind of give them a taste of what musical theater is all about, and kind of that magic of live performance too. So bringing in new theater audiences.
Yeah, I love that sort of concept with Salty Theatre. I know you were previously working on the Top Gun, the musical, but that
Yeah, that's right.
sadly
Thank
got
you.
cancelled.
Unfortunately, yeah, that was a tough one. That's all right. Hopefully we'll bring it back in future.
Yep. So for this show, how important was it for all of the members of the cast to also be familiar with the Netflix series?
It was not necessarily hugely important for the audition process. There are a few members of our cast who hadn't watched it, who are familiar with it, and kind of did their homework to prep for the character, kind of their version of the character in the audition. So at that stage, it wasn't important, but I actually did give them some homework between May, when they were all cast, and now, going, you need to watch the series, you need to get familiar with the nuances of it, because I know that there will be so many Stranger Things fans sitting in the audience. You really want to make sure the cast like nails those little isms and those little quirks and those things that make those characters so iconic. So it was important for the show, but not as important for the audition.
Okay, well, you gave them plenty of time. I can't imagine it took.
I did.
It took them all that time.
And actually, since that's it, and the ones who hadn't have come to me since and gone, "Oh my God, this show is amazing," and now they're completely hooked. So,
oh, perfect for them.
yeah.
And then, how does Stranger Things transform the TV series for a musical and theatre style?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Stranger Things, the writer Jonathan Hogue is a very, very big fan himself, and he's done a beautiful job of creating almost this love letter to the series. And he's taken, our show majoritively focuses on season 1, but he's done a beautiful job of peppering in kind of odes to the rest of the seasons, including season 4. Like, he's done a rewrite since the 4th season has come out, which has been pretty cool. But I think he has a brilliant way of taking all of the kind of the major plot points and the major moments throughout the series, and has merged them with some kind of really iconic 80s musicals and pop culture references to really, I guess, bring out the humor in like the nostalgia of the 80s and the ridiculousness of what the series is, and what musical theater was like at that stage as well. So he's just taken all of these kind of pieces and smash them together to create something that I think the fans will really like. But you don't have to be a fan of Stranger Things to get a lot out of it.
Yeah, well, I guess like the show, if you're just like an 80s nostalgia fiend, you're going to love this one anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a fan of the 80s, if you're into just like pop culture, if you're into music theater, there's certainly something for many tastes here.
And then why do you feel it is important for audiences to see this theater version over the TV version? Or is it like
Um,
is it more of a companion piece?
I think it's a companion piece, really. The series is obviously very much its own thing and its own beast, and you fall. And there's such an arc and a depth of um, storytelling and character, and it also has a lot more of the kind of the darker quality to the series as well. We touch on that, and I have, like, in terms of building the vision, building the world of the musical, there are those moments of kind of moodiness and the darkness of the upside down and those kind of spooky kind of nods. But it is very much, I mean, it is a parody. So it pulls out the humor and like certain characteristics and stretches them to make them a little bit more ridiculous. You know, Steve and his way with girls in season one, and those kind of things. So yeah, very much a companion piece, and I would not say it's one versus the other.
How has it been sort of we've seen the series over the 4 seasons move more towards a horror dynamic, I think.
Yeah.
How has it been to sort of take that growth in the series and still keep the musical theater comedy elements in there and not overshadow that darkness?
Absolutely. It's been, I think, again, the writer did a really great job of kind of fleshing out the little moments. And I think because there is a larger focus on season one, it's been pretty straightforward, pretty easy to not overwhelm with the darkness and keep it in that vein of parody and comedy and just like a mad love for the series itself. And I think the kind of spooky elements are going to pop out less in song and dialogue and more in a lighting design, for example. I think that the design of the show is going to be what kind of gives a little bit of those feels and the nods to the spooky factor that have come up more and more through the season.
Okay. And with the show sort of being based in the 80s, how has it been sorting out the costumes and I imagine the character designs for the Demigorgon and things like that?
Yeah, it's been really fun, actually. I mean, I must say, I feel like 2022 is the perfect time to do an 80s series because that era has come back in full force in terms of style and fashion and like the Reeboks and like so it's been, I think, great fun for Emily, our costume designer, Emily Bush, to sort and source all of those bits and pieces. And a lot of the times people will put things on and go, oh man, I totally wear this in real life. Yeah. So it's been fun. And the Demogorgon, Em's having great fun with that. So obviously there are a number of costumes you can buy online. So using something like that as a base, but she's going all out and building upon that to create something that's going to be a lot of fun. That you will see some pretty spectacular dancing happening in the Demogorgon costume as well.
That's something that will be a joy to see, a Demogorgon dancing around all happily.
Absolutely.
And should this run prove to be a major success, would you like to take this show on the road to other cities around the country?
Absolutely. That is very much a big thing on the cards for me. And as you said, if the Melbourne season is as successful as we hope it's going to be, the next stops will certainly be interstate and give the rest of Australia a taste of the madness and love that is Stranger Things.
Okay. And then Are there any other shows, be they Netflix, Amazon, Stan, Disney Plus, that you think would make for great musical adaptations?
Oh, that's such a good question. You know what series I think would make a great musical adaptation? I don't know if they'd ever do it, but I think Schitt's Creek would be an awesome musical. I think it has so much heart, but it already has that kind of crazy over the top quality to it. I feel like adding a little bit of music can notch it up, but wouldn't seem out of place in that show.
Yep.
I think that would be my next one. If I could miraculously put together a new series musical, it would be Schitt's Creek.
Okay. I was thinking something like The Boys could work as well, just because it is
Oh
already
yeah.
crazy over the top and
Oh
ridiculous.
man. That would be a good one. That would be, I mean, that would be a brilliant satirical musical for sure. That is such a crazy show. Oh.
Alrighty, awesome. Finally, where is the best place for people to support the show, support you, and track this creative journey moving forward?
Oh, thank you. You can find tickets to the show at strangerthingsau.com on our website, or you can follow us at Salty Theater on Instagram or at Stranger Things Musical AU on Instagram as well. So there's a number of places you can find us. We're all over.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for taking the time, and good luck with this season.
My pleasure, Jamie. Thanks so much. Looking forward to seeing you there.